understand what kids schools do to actually show support for our educators that are doing it.
So earlier in the session today, I talked about the concept of health promoting schools. Health promoting schools is an initiative put forward by WHO and a range of other UN organizations. It is not just an individual school approach, it's actually a whole country approach, but it's typically led by a Department of Education. And it is effectively about promoting healthy behaviors. So it's making sure you're getting enough sleep, eating well, exercising, reducing screen time, all those types of things. So whilst it's predominantly focused on making sure the kids engage in healthy behaviors, there is also a subset of that literature, of that program, that is focused on the adult mental health, or the teacher mental health. So I think it's about principals, leadership teams in schools looking at the policies they have to support their staff and go, does this actually measure against international benchmarks? And using things like the health promoting schools framework to say, okay, are we doing the bare minimum in this slot, or are we actually way above or way below? And I think at the moment, Warwick Academy is going through a process of re-accreditation through international schools process, and our focus is on wellbeing. And so we'll actually have a group of teachers, parents, students, representatives that will pick one specific World Staff Wellbeing initiative, and then they'll be responsible for rolling that out. So making sure you have everyone involved in the school represented, and then working out what is the most meaningful to your school community.
I definitely would agree. I think as a society, we're really big on talking about mental health, but not actually doing it. And I was going to say something to Condo's line. So if we're going to talk about creating a space for our educators in particular, there needs to be a space for reflective practice for the teachers, a space where they can voice their concern without any harm being done to them, or they can get the support whether from a professional or even just with their team to voice what's going on with their personal lives and in the schooling lives. I feel like, at least from what I get, some of the teachers that I work with, they feel quite isolated and they don't get the support. They can't speak to their management team, or they don't have the space to be able to do that. So I think almost in the way that you have team meetings or such, you should have a space where educators that's specifically focused on their mental health. What do they want? What do they need? Ask the questions and actually get that support. And although this doesn't have to do with the education institutions in general, I think I'm sure it's still a heck of a lot center for educators, especially when it comes to the public schooling. I mean, GHI, I mean, some of them, they're not covering much. But that's a major hindrance for them getting some support. What does that look like? Is it EAP services for the schools? They need to be a little bit more robust. And actually, if we're going to say we care about our educators' mental health, then, okay, what are we actually going to do? And creating a space like reflective practice and having those programs and initiatives is a way to do that. So we have educated in the audience, right? If you're educators. So and you can say yes and then we'll answer how you will. So right now, what is being done within schools to ensure that you looking at me like that you were mentally healthy?
Start off with just in the buttons in the question in reference to some of the Brown. You see, I see to it's just an question in Brown. And I do agree with what they have said, but one piece that they left out was what they are dealing with the symptoms. They didn't when the clients come to me and say for a doctor. What I see is when they come, but you first see that actually athletes, and this is also research, it's actually one of the top 3 is absenteeism, and increase it. Absenteeism, they stop showing up. I'm glad you said stop showing up. And sometimes they lift that someone will come show up physically, but that's the physically, but they're still absent. So those are signs that we see in terms of Brown, that we're going to be honest, before they even get to a clinician. And so that's those are signs that we see in a school setting. What happens, what shows when teachers are burnt out, and they just stop showing up. They take every day that they could get in terms of that 6 day. If it's 10, they take all 10. So honestly, they use that. So there's one piece in terms of Brown that they left out this increase in absenteeism. Now, in terms of what can be in place, now I know at the end, we could have a debate over the change piece, but And just like EAP, if it wasn't for EAP, they wouldn't have an outlet. EAP has made themselves available. Mr. Lister Bridges and our team were actually trying to service the public school setting and also the public school teachers for those that take advantage of that. And they had to have an option if they want to go to someone private to get up, getting up to them. But there are some things in place to help them cope, even though it may not be enough. Something you have, and for those that really understand this, they're saying half of those is better than no enough. So having the opportunity to have some type of help is better than having no help.
Absolutely. And not at that, and I guess we're not disagreeing with that, but there is actually still more that can be done, right? And so my question was, okay, to the educators that today are, okay, yes, we have a KP, which is a great thing. Yes, we have that. But within the school itself, what else is being done within each individual school to ensure that each individual teacher is actually okay?
I'm not an educator, but one thing that the foundation did a couple of years ago that actually prompted this conversation, we did a school tour. And I actually went out to all the schools and we talked about mental health and mental health awareness and illness. And after every single school, when it ended, all the teachers would come up to me and say, "This is great for them. Like, they totally need it." But what with us? Like this, and then we were thinking of topics that resonated with me. It's like, wait a minute, what about the teachers? Like, I know I couldn't imagine being a teacher nowadays. So that's why this topic came up. It's because, are we doing enough to support our teachers in the school setting, right? Especially when the kids they have all this access to social media, a little bit more, violent and aggressive at times, and teachers are really having to challenge themselves to.
Sometimes they have to spend half of the time that they're supposed to be teaching dealing with individual issues with their students.
Yeah.
And I mean, that takes a toll on someone, because guess what? You still have to go home and deal with your children, your husband, your family, your circumstances. So my question is, what are some of the things that can be laid out for schools to encourage them to help our teachers to be able to function better in the classroom? Because they do a lot of workshops about how you can be a better teacher, how you can give the children better skill sets, and how you can do this better, and how you can outline your lesson plan better, and this and that. They tell you everything around the sun, but within the body up.
But I had one experience I worked at City Academy, and I worked in student service department, and we recognize that as we are there to serve students, but we recognize that the adults and the building also go the team. One of what we have done in the past, which seems to be problem because already requested, we starting to offer massages, inviting outside agencies to one of our schools to give our teachers a massage break, like going to lunch summer prep time, come and just get a massage to help them with their stress, and that was popular.
That'll be popping up my office too. They need it a lot. That's what I was following.
That came in a conversation with the teachers, get the feedback like, we know we work with these students and students have it, but we like those who work with you. So that came from them. So be a light to that. And so that we did it. It's like that action for it again.
Yeah.
And so we gave a whole day just cracking them.
And see, guys, I want you all to, can you give a round of applause for that? Yeah, that's good. Keep it running over to the end of that. This conversation is still a good conversation where if you have something to bring to the table, it's okay. Because maybe another school might need it for that. I might have to call back them still. Okay.
So I'm hesitant to try and suggest any sort of answer that is a silver bullet, because I think everyone's always looking for the answer to fix this problem. I don't think that that answer is going to be the same for every school. I think it's going to be different. Where we did our process at Warwick Academy and we said, okay, let's focus on staff wellbeing. The number one thing that came up was around workload. So how can we streamline our workload so that we are not double handling? And it was actually, I went out, had dinner a couple of nights ago with some teachers, and we were talking about what is the type of work that we most want to streamline. Because I don't want someone to take away my students, right? I'm not saying I want to teach less. Like, I love teaching. That's why I got into the profession. Like, I don't think we should be taking that away.
Administrative work.
Yeah.
Hey, or.
Yeah, it's the IT issues where the printer isn't working, or like you've just planned something and then it wasn't communicated correctly because of someone else was also planning something, so there wasn't clear communication. Reducing the work that is supplementary to teaching but it's necessary to do. If we can reduce that so that we can actually be in the classroom more building relationships, doing the work, which I think is the most important one, I think that would be wonderful. But every school will have different processes that are doubled up that need to be addressed. So each school needs to themselves look together and say, what do we actually need to work on?
And just like the gentleman said, and what I said earlier, you have to ask the questions. Ask the questions, ask your staff, ask them what they need, and then you can lay out a plan that's appropriate. Start there. And what I'm hearing is communication is key. And I think we've been hearing that in every session that we've had, whether it's the others dealing with burnout, educators. In every situation with reference to mental health, we have to learn to advocate and communicate what our needs are. And the other thing is that we have to stand together in it. So if you have Lisa on the sideline that's speaking up on something that's happening with mental health in the workplace, and that can actually help and impact everyone, we sit on the sideline and let them speak and we say nothing. And I think that's another issue that we have is in the mental health scope, is that we're all experiencing things. We're all suffering it in silence. But if we all kind of stand together and we can make policy, we can make changes to policies and practices within the educational system and within our own lives. So I just thought I'll just bring that to the table. Do you agree with that? Now, how can educators model positive mental health practices for their students? Smile, you smile with me.
Yep, sure. So I know there's difference of opinions about this, but one thing that I like to try and do is if I am having a rough day myself, if I'm either frustrated or angry or tired, and I feel like it's going to impact my ability to be fully present in the classroom such that if another student in the class is having a bad day, that I couldn't manage that situation as well, I will say at the start of a lesson, I'll say, honestly, team, I didn't get a lot of sleep last night and I am not my 100%. I just wanted to give you a heads up in case I might be a bit short with anyone. That's the explanation. I'm not taking it out on you individually. Some people feel uncomfortable about doing that, saying that you shouldn't, the teacher shouldn't just be a perfect emotional creature that just like regulates themselves all the time. I just don't think that's realistic. So if I feel like I'm in that position, that also implies that I have such a good relationship with those students that they're not going to take advantage of that. Because I think there are some teachers that maybe are burnt out and have been burnt out for a while, that's come across in their classroom. And so the students don't feel that connection with the teacher. So if the teacher says that, they could possibly use that opportunity to say, well, you've been bad to us and da 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 da. So I think that for me, that's a strategy that I use, and I don't use it all the time. It's just if I know that it's just been a really big day or week or something, that I'll say that and just say, this is how I talking about it is helpful. Taking a minute. Sometimes I'll say, okay, let's do a little, and this is just something because I teach psychology, then let's do a little meditation or a little like just relaxing. I'll put on some relaxing music while we're going through class and we start the note. Instead of a discussion, it's like reading and we just have some calming music play. And I just say, okay, cool. Now let's have the discussion. So I think just when you yourself are not at your best frame of mind, they're going to be watching. So they're going to see how you act. Are you just going to lash out at them? Or are you going to, and even if you do, sometimes we get it wrong and actually we come down to, I don't know, kid, but do you go back and apologize? There was times last year when the students that we had really, really struggled, and I came down too hard on some of them about being late or not handing in homework, and they felt really resentful that they were going through such a tough time, and I was making a big deal about homework, or not being a few minutes late. And so afterwards I reflected and I thought, yeah, I know some of the things that are going on in your life, and I only know those things because we have a relationship. And so I understand that I was probably too harsh in that instance. So I'm sorry, still try and be on time and do the homework and everything. But there's got to be hard on policy, but soft on the person. You've got to say these are the expectations in the class. But when you're actually trying to get someone to that point, you're soft in how you approach that.
I would agree. I think there's a way to be honest, but you should be honest. I think it also helps teach the children emotional and social skills. If they see, okay, my teacher does this to regulate, maybe that's something I can try. Or maybe I can do this, or that. This is a way to express and present my emotions and learn from it. It also takes the element of stigma out a little bit. If we're all going through something, if my teacher's going through something, then I can talk about it. And then it's not like, oh my gosh, like anxiety or feeling low or being irritable. It's such a scary thing because we have the culture of the classroom where even my teacher talks about it. So you're modeling skills, emotional skills and social skills to your students, and they'll pick that up. They really will. So be honest, Dad. There's a way to be honest, but be honest. And how do people feel about that, being honest? Because you know what, I'm going to share from experience that this generation that we have now, honesty is probably the best policy for them. It's like if you are honest with them, I find that they're more prone to accept it and listen. If you show them that you're human, that human side, I think it's very, very important. I mean, would you agree with you educators that are out there as far as young people and abuse? So I think that's like there. What are some things that the community and parents and can do to support educators' mental health point of view? Again, if we talk about it, then it does become a scary. There we go. I'm waiting for you to say that. Like talking about it, I know it sometimes sounds like we're beating a dead horse, but you just have to. We are still, particularly in Bermuda, very clouded about mental health, mental well-being in general. If we're talking about it, we're more susceptible to make changes, policy changes, insurance changes, healthcare in general. We've gotten a lot better with COVID. I'm really, really proud of us, but we have a lot more to go. Like we've opened the door, but this is not an exclusive club. Mental health affects every single person. So if we're talking about it more, how different people experienced it, then the support for educators and beyond will be there because we realize it's not just Lisa and Jack who are impacted, it's every single one of us. What are some of the policy changes that can be made? I mean, you may want to, I don't know if you had something that you wanted to add to what you said. Yes, I'll let you add that first. But also, what about policy? Because I heard you saying policy and all of that, but what are some of the policy changes that can be made to actually assist in this area?
So speaking first to what can people in the community and parents do, one thing that I think a lot of educators in the room could probably resonate with is that it was an emotional roller coaster of COVID. So from before COVID, during COVID to after, but there was this beautiful time at the start of COVID, beautiful time. Everything was just like a mess where the community and parents were just beautiful. They were like, educators, they're like, we understand, like now that we've got the kids and ourselves, it's like suddenly the heady drill, Jenny, take a bat. And like, thank you so much. And there was an outpour of gratitude. I got emails and thank you messages. I was like, this is so nice. So let's do this forever. And I thought that it wouldn't just stay, just people were grateful. It didn't last long. I thought it did not last long. It then just after we started going back into the classroom, it almost went back and worse, that the moment that something is wrong with their child, with your child, it's the teacher's fault. And I will just get just shocked with some emails or phone calls, or messages, or whatever.
So I respond right away.
Yeah. So I feel from there's one thing that teachers can be a little bit sensitive about. So certainly, the teachers that I've been connected to and myself is that we get love holidays. No question about that, right? We get great holidays, absolutely no question. But I think that with that and the idea that school finishes early, teachers feel there's a belief in the community that teachers aren't working hard, that they're just getting all this time off and they're not working so hard. And so parents should just be allowed to send them emails at any time of night or any time of day, just expect an automatic responses, or we're just waiting for that email. And that's something that I think we are sensitive about because it can be difficult or frustrating that we spend a whole day looking after kids who are really emotional, and then we get back at night and you get this email from a parent saying, this happened in my class, how would you let that happen? And in half the time, it's the student hasn't told the truth, right? It was actually they were the ones that instigated it, you know? So it's like, before you, like, we'll make you offer. We won't believe everything that your kid tells us about what happens at home. You cannot believe everything that they tell you about what happened in school. That's our deal, all right? Let's just start from then. So with that in mind, I think just before, and I would understand, I'm not a parent myself, but if you do see your child struggling and really upset, you want something to change. And so the easiest person to go to can be the school. But just before you send that email or you make that phone call, just ask yourself, you know, is this going to be interpreted in the way that I hope? Can I send this tomorrow morning as opposed to sending it at night and then therefore assuming that I need to get an answer right away? Just taking the time to make sure that everything that you've been told is actually the case before you leap into full tiger mode. I'm gonna attack someone. So that's probably what I'd say from just being mindful that that it often what happens in a school can be really complex. We are absolutely going to do our best to stamp out bullying and anything that could genuinely be harming your child. But at the same time, sometimes parents can want to try and remove all kinds of adversity from a child's life. So, for example, I run that middle school debating. That's tough, right? You're getting out there, you're speaking, you're having people challenge your ideas. For a lot of kids, this is really stressful. And I think it's great. You know, I think kids need to challenge. They need to be challenged. They need to go through these hard times. And just because they're having a hard time doesn't mean that they automatically need someone to fly in and just make the problem go away. So I love throwing my kids in challenging situations.
Real life is going to show up and you're going to have to face it, right?
Exactly. And if they can learn to deal with, this is what school should be about, is learning how to deal with these problems yourself rather than having someone just come in and say, oh, I'm going to make sure you don't have that problem. Because that doesn't help the child. So if it's a case of your child is being like bullied, then definitely start asking those questions. Okay, so what is happening? But if it's something else that seems like it's isolated or it's a tough time, wonderful. They should struggle a bit in school. They should have challenges. Like, this is part of life.
No, I was just going asking you some, as I know this pretty up to COVID and pandemic, when again it's work can be to have that honest narrative. And we're talking about, you know, education burnout. A lot of teachers, a lot of educators were already burnt out prior to the pandemic. And the pandemic just magnified what was already existing. And so then going to this sweet piece that the gentleman was speaking about during COVID, when the parents and guardians are forced to keep the kids, you know, all here out there to realize what their reality that for some of us, whatever there's honest conversation, sometimes it's not the student that's our stress, it's not the content, the subject we're going to deliver, it's you, it's the parent that's our stress.
Yeah.
And so, as he said, it's that nice, peaceful, beautiful movement has changed. I believe one of the solutions, and this is not for all parents because some parents are very helpful. We have to get parents to take ownership and help them to remember that this is a collective responsibility. And once we see this partnership, then you'll see that, hey, all right, we feel not against you. We might help to reduce some of the stress that the teachers are dealing with as they got a taste and go, it's not just to charge you. So just speaking that, you know, that's a piece of collective responsibility.
I definitely agree. And linking to the parents' piece, if we were talking about it more, parents may be more comfortable taking accountability of maybe their heart in it. So I know from a lot of what I see, parents, not my child, they don't have that. They're not doing that. So if the stakeholders of it, if we were talking about it a little more, it might help alleviate some of the stress that comes with the parent piece. Did that make sense? You know what? I'm going to start with whatever happens. I know lots of questions too. You love the JJ, so you think I can order. I'm well, and then you get solid at the clear that man. Sometimes be help me do it.
Let's vacation. Thanks very much. If there is this was to you as well, but never mind. There's a lot in the literature for the last few years, more and more so, about vulnerability as being a significant part of leadership, and that it's the very foundation of trust, interpersonal trust, and naturally, then your leadership in the workplace. I wonder how, if you subscribe to that notion of vulnerability being an essential component of trust, and if you do believe it, where does that dovetail for the administration of the school, the teachers in the school, and the parents at home?
Listening to say,
I just want to make sure I understand the question correctly. So the question is around who should be showing vulnerability, or in what context should we show this amongst ourselves?
Let me just say a bit more. The conversation has been about honesty, and what I've been hearing, honestly, I'm thinking perhaps, not should, but perhaps a better concept to plug in instead of honesty is openness and vulnerability. Openness about where each party is coming from, role-wise, their own perspective. Vulnerability doesn't mean weak. It means open and caring, and putting oneself totally forward so that it'll be easier to be understood by the listener. And so, as I see it, it's three parts. It's administration in the school, teachers at the school, or students, but parents being the third leg of the stool. And vulnerability in any way can be an instrumental factor for greater significant connectedness between parents and schools.
So I think I spoke to, from the teacher-student perspective, I spoke about my own experience in that if I feel like I'm not having the best day, or I'm not in a position where I can emotion manage the classroom as well as I would like to, I will come out the front and say that, because I'm showing how I'm regulating my own emotions, and it's also being able to identify my own emotions, which I think a lot of people don't actually realize that they're angry or sad. There could be some students that I can say, you're angry, right? Like, I can see it, your whole body posture. Just, you're aware that this is the emotion that you're experiencing right now. Sometimes they actually just don't even get that first part. So how are they actually going to manage themselves if they can't actually emotionally recognized? In terms of what that looks like from teacher to parent, or parent to teacher, or administration to teachers, I mean, that's definitely on a case-by-case or contextual basis. A lot of, basically, most schools will have some sort of parent-teacher association. That's probably a good platform for people to talk about that. I don't know if schools have specific guidelines about how those parent-teacher associations are run, or the meetings, what they look like. Is there a forum at the beginning of that where people can open up and say, this is how we feel the school is going right now, this is what parents are struggling with? I presume that is what happens. And then every school's leadership is different. There would be some school leadership that would be really good about, when we're going through COVID, saying, these are really challenging times. We're absolutely doing our best. This is what we're finding struggling. Please keep talking to us. So I think I'm supportive of everything you're saying. I think it's important. It's just what that looks like in practice, I think, is really difficult to advise on, because I think it's so contextual. But open communication channels, making sure there is at least communication between all groups, and that there is a space where people can share, is important.
I have a question, as the gentleman, thought, next to Mr. Marshall, the one at wrong. Yes. So you had mentioned about parents and how they communicate with teachers, and sometimes it really is the kid. And I know, because I know when I do something wrong, I'm don't blame teachers. But I find it this is me communicating from a parent to I'm not an educator. I find that sometimes parents believe that teachers are the authority in how to deal with kids when they are going to these types of behaviors, right? And I know that teachers, because I've worked with I know that teachers are not mental health professionals, right? But a lot of parents make the assumption that you have been taught to deal with the behaviors of the student. So when you go to a parent who is a parent and they have their own level of frustrations with this child, you're telling the parent, your child was doing all of this, they're like, I don't know how to fix it. Don't you know how to fix it? So I think it's this really weird situation where parents think that teachers should then we're sending the child to you. And then, where is he? Right, not right. But it's also regulated for you to send my child to you. I know my children go to school in the United States. If they don't go to school, I get arrested, right? So I have to send my kids to school, for 8 hours a day. And the understanding for most parents is that you are the expert when it comes to this stuff. And so I'm not saying it as a debatable point. I'm just saying that from an updating and from down everyone. That may be the other kind of disconnects that are happening with parents. And, parents, I hear them. So I just educate the parents. Oh, yeah, everyone needs to be educated. I live this. And no, heck. But how do we educate the parents on that one? No, don't we can expect. And so my name's Diana, and I have a lot of experience working in the school system, not as a teacher, but as a counselor. So I had a lot of interactions with students. Thank you. I could reach out the microphone. But I had a lot of interactions with teachers, kids, and parents within the school setting. I worked in Germany as well, and for the U.S. forces, and worked in parents and kids. One of the things that I think is of absolute important is mindset that each individual, whether it's a headmaster of a school, or the student, or the mayor, to be treated with honor and dignity. And I think that's this mindset, but I think teachers are under incredible pressure to produce. And they're producing things like great people that took a year. I don't know how many times teachers said to me, I just don't have the time that I used to have to spend with my students who I love it so much, almost like a son or daughter, but I don't time that I used to have to actually just take that 5 minutes and have a little talk, which helps Johnny, by the way, to self-regulate, because that might be the only interaction he's at the bowl week to feel good about himself. So there's a little sign that says, they may not remember what was taught them, but they'll always remember how you treated them. My husband actually did a lot of substitute teaching within every school in Virginia. And we did here, I've ever moved away, and then we came back. And it is so fascinating now to see these young people in the work world, whether it's in the bank, whether it's at the gas station, whether on the railway track, walking, and they come running up, or they call out to him, they stop their car. I call out his name. Mr. Decker, come over and hug me. And yeah, and he used to come home and then I had to cancel there because he really was at his wit's end. They always gave him behaviorally disturbed children because he was substitute teacher and that's what they needed somebody to do that. And he gave his all, and he was a very good teacher, and he actually managed to teach them. Actually, he's very good at math, he's very good at different things. But they've never forgotten coming to you. So, and by the way, there was also a saying that says, the fish starts to stink at the head. And I'll have to say this too. When you work in a system, I don't care what system it is. Could be a church, could be any organization. It does not matter. The person at the head really has to make sure they got their stuff together. Because if they treat their staff, let's put it this way, if they treat their staff with honor and dignity, if they listen to their staff, actively listen to their staff, hear what they're saying, and care about what they're saying, things will change. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments? I'm going for this week. I'll talk to the microphone and I'll come over to you. I think one other thing that comes to mind is that school culture shouldn't be shaped by the children. It should be a collaborative kind of experience to create a culture that's healthy, and supporting teachers to do that includes making sure that they get the social and emotional that we want to give to the children. And I don't know if there's a big discrepancy between our private schools in Bermuda and our public schools. I'm pretty sure there is. Let's just be honest, right? And how social emotional learning is executed, so that the culture that is built kind of validates what the young lady behind me just talked about, which is that dignity that, of course, promotes mental wellness kind of overall. So what type of cultures are we building amongst the teachers themselves, amongst the students, as they collaboratively together between teacher and student, that helps to cultivate the mental health in a positive way, and by using social emotional health and learning on both ends of it.
So I think in terms of the health promoting schools framework that I talked about before, part of that piece is around teaching social emotional learning effectively in schools. So I just would probably echo what you've just said, that yes, that's really important to do, is to make sure that young people are trained about how to regulate their emotions. And also, teachers at some point can benefit still from psychosocial support, or actually getting workshops about how they can, when faced with challenging students or students going through challenging problems, how they can best respond in those situations without themselves becoming frustrated or triggered by anything.
I didn't have this income. One is directed to each and every one of us sitting here, that if we consider even the spiritual side of our individual lives, how we share the spiritual life with them, our children, our grandchildren, even as you work with those in the community. I do an after-school Bible club. It's on the ground. It'll keep parents volunteer from their children, and children volunteer to come. And I've seen drastic change these behaviors just in that small 1 hour a week, But I just will encourage each one of us, step out into, back into physical. The lot of people have that step back into themselves, let bring it into the back. Consider doing that, and trusting God in that area of, not children education, sort of like every area of my life. And also the other comment is like, I have 2 grandsons, high school, at Worth Academy, and I am so glad to be there. Just listen, I get it. I just enjoyed this. This every time I do shit.
What are their names?
What's the name?
Yeah, what year? What year?
In year 12?
Okay.
Rather than going to Warrens and Bermuda Alley.
Yeah.
And the other one is just into Michael and Jonah. I just did that part. We do get always go like hotel and say, we the issue. Then these were paying over. You were there. That's for my own.
On about. Thank you.
All right, just checking to see if anybody has any more comments or questions. I can just speak without Microsoft. I think it's better for me. I actually just want to say that after the pandemic, I think one thing that we overlook here as health professionals is that people we really suffered from low self-esteem. And the students in the schools, basically what's the base of all what we see is that they are absolutely feeling they are unworthy. Like this. They don't feel they have any personal worth. In other words, person feels worthy when they get treated a certain way. So if they don't get treated well, then they come to school and they're not treated well. Either it's by their peers or by their teachers or even from themselves. So they have this constant message given to them. Oh, well, it's either kind of thing. So then their behavior becomes on that. They check, I'm not worthy anyway. This is what you get. So the minute one thing changes, I really like what Imita said. I think in little changes make big difference. The real thing affect any individual that goes into any school with the mindset that they really want to make a difference, positive difference. And if they speak to the student in a motivational way, help them to re-engage in joy, to help them know what it feels like to feel good again, and that they can feel better about their life and about themselves. My agree and can start to have a lot of gratitude without a lot of rules and regulations or have, good towards a lot of negative against control, if you like, in the school. And that cost factor comes in because that's what it's about. They know you state. Kids really ought to have good experiences.
I want to know, what is a critical step that institutions can make with reference to ensure that that's along is the educators? Like, what is a critical step that, let's say we have people that are here sitting at a school. I mean, I heard he talked about, you got together and, they do massages and that help. But what else is something that's critical that you think? And I know I know what you're going to say, but I want to reiterate because I already know what it is, but you can everybody needs that type of help, right? We all need that extra push to help us get the right direction. Obviously, there is something we're not doing right. We're not doing everything right.
The gentleman's over here. So what's your name? Me. And you there, yeah.
My name's Eric B.
Eric Bean. Okay, so you've been in Cedar Bridge for a while, I presume.
So I'm seeing changes come to little different seasons. Come to the state on the third place. I worked at old level, so I could speak for the room.
Yeah, the reason why I'm asking that is because obviously I know there's so many changes happening in the Department of Education in schools. So what's going to be different for Cedar Bridge is going to be different for Warwick Academy. It's going to be different for every school in terms of what policy changes or what things can institutions do. Again, I absolutely think we should be pushing towards this health promoting schools and that we're focusing on well-being at the forefront of everything that we do, both for students and for teachers. But at the same time, there is so much happening in the public schools. There's so many changes. So I think whatever does come about, please just ask the teachers first. Ask what is the thing that's stressing them out the most.
Honestly, do we have anybody that's in leadership that's in Department of Education that's here, or anybody can take control? Here, I'm just saying to take notes. We could send emails on Monday and we can send them this evening. So I'm going to have to repeat that one more time just in case somebody wants to record this.
Just ask them, ask like, what is the thing that's causing you the most stress and how can you actually take that out? Because if you can remove the stresses or just reconnect them, remind teachers of what, presumably most of us got into the profession in the first place is about building those connections and having those great moments with students. So if we can take away as much of the clutter, as much of the stuff that is preventing us from doing that work in the classroom, that's going to help. And then if we can also build those moments better, like support those connections, I think when you feel socially connected to your students, you feel like you're engaged with them and you respect them, they respect you, you just want to do more, right? So you can actually give more to the school community. But if you're so burdened by all the other mundane things that you have to do, that it starts taking away from that student relationship, I think it's going to take away from your ability to feel connected and to also give the connection that you need. So ask the educators and then do everything you can to remove the unnecessary things. And then,
Like I said before, I do so great work, but you can't change anything you're not aware of. So you have to start by having a conversation. That's the first step. It is get your teachers together, get leadership together. What does it look like? Like, can everyone meet regularly? Is it every Thursday after school? Yes, it's more time, but if our educators have a space, a reflective space, to be able to voice their concerns, whether that's their own mental health and what's going on in school, that is where you start. You can't change anything unless you're aware of what the problems are. You have to have the discussion. That's the first step.
Can I add to sentence? To me, it's and I hear you and I agree. the thing the issue I have, like, just with Bermuda is, like, we're such a small community, and I always see Bermuda as, like, a micro, like, example of what everything else could be, because it's so small. Like, Bermuda could pass a law today and I'm going to feel it tomorrow, right? United States passed one month, it feels 7-8 years. And I always find it interesting if, let's talk about, and I agree, but it's like, why are the people that, can make these fundamental changes that are based on research, based on data, based on hearing the educators saying that they need support, and it's just becomes this huge task to make these things happen. I've always, even in your earlier reading, I've always been concerned. We know that children, teens don't have the skill set to manage their emotion, but we never put emotional wellness, like, as an actual class in school. I don't understand why you have to do these things. And then it's like us, like, the people, I think the people at the top is like, want to keep your job or you try to lift the brownie points, but I just like, it doesn't happen as quickly because something is preventing it from happening. I don't know if it's money. I'm just calling it a spade. I don't know. Somebody doesn't want to the bonus. I don't know. But it's just weird because we, the people, can play these things out, but it's just reaches a level and it's like, oh, we can't do it. It's going to take all these years to do it. And we have years of statistical data that said that these things are needed, but I just don't see where change the policy unnecessary. Now we're saying changes in policy are necessary, yes, in order to make these things happen. So, okay, we're going to have to get a continue next, and I think we're wrapping up right. Yeah, we're wrapping up. So,
Just one I agree. I do appreciate all the questions that we did as we close out, and we're looking at education from the brand. As you mentioned about communication, sometimes we need to communicate with ourselves. Whereas the ideology, what I mean by that is it starts with you. If there's a way for policy to be in place so they can take care of it, you need to self-care. And that's what I mean by communicate with yourself. That's one piece in reference to you being able to those that are experiencing burnout as educators. You need to self-care. That's one place you could start, self-care. Don't wait for the policy to be in place, but they may not be in place in time to help you to be at a better space. So that's one place is self-care. And so I leave it at that in reference to encourage him to some community start with yourself. You need to take care of yourself and not wait for someone else to do it, even though that's health.
Just making sure you have any final word.
No,
I think just, Jody, I hadn't heard what you had said before about how sometimes parents can think that the teachers are the experts. And I've been teaching for 10 years and I just had never thought about that. As again, I'm not a parent, so I hadn't thought about it from that perspective. Teachers are not perfect. So there's definitely, we will always have room to grow. We should have our own professional development, those types of things. But if the conversation is framed correctly, we can definitely learn, just like the students that we teach can learn. It's just when we try and have the communication with parents, it's often at the end of the school day, after it's been a crazy day. I would love to be able to have a calm, relaxed conversation with a parent all the time in the world, but it's not always the case. So I think there are those, it's not that we don't care, that we don't want to communicate with parents. It's just that we've also got so many other pressures that can be coming up that mean that conversation can be a little bit more difficult. But ultimately, I think we are all on the same page. So it could be more building more relationships between parents and teachers, so that if there does need to be some feedback that's given back, that can be received in a way that's meant to be received, as opposed to sometimes it can feel a bit adversarial. Yeah.
All right, can you give them a round of applause? Thank you so much. And that is the end of our panel discussion.
Good. Yeah,